Hey Sakshi, how are you today?
Hi, Priyash. I'm good. What about you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this testimonial with me today. Would be lovely to share your story with all our future applicants in terms of how you were positioning yourself for this entire MBA plan and what are the outcomes that you managed to get for yourself as well. So with
Sure.
that, let's just get started with a small introduction about your background.
Completely my pleasure. Thank you
for
so asking me to do this. And I would like to help and let you know whatever I was thinking, I'm still thinking. So my name is Sakshi. I am a lawyer. I graduated from one of the law schools in India, which is National Law School, Bhopal. And I finished a 5 year degree with and started working with law firms post that. I have an experience of almost 4.5 years, and I came to LilacBuds with actually a lot of questions because not a lot of lawyers pivot into doing an MBA.
Correct.
So I think I reached out, and my first step was to first analyze what I can do and how to prepare myself before even starting my applications. That's what my first stage was. And with the journey, I think I've obviously gotten very good results out of it, but the journey was quite long and tiring, as it is for every applicant. That is going to be a clear cut. That's clear, very clear, that is going to be very tiring. And with me specifically, because I was in the stage with my career where I wanted to pivot towards management, and was working with banking and finance team in a law firm named Trilegal. And at that point of juncture in my life, I wanted to see the transactions I was on, or even the legal advisory I was providing from a management perspective. And that was my core reason. And with the help of Lilac, I would was able to understand the strategy which is required to what kind of business schools you're aiming for, or what will completely fit in your profile.
Got it.
um,
Cool.
that was
So
my, I
I
would
was
say, the starting point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I remember our journey started over a year back, right? I think you've been
What are you
engaged with us, or you've engaged us for nearly a whole year. And this is something that's
exactly?
very important, right? That people start early, they start thinking early. Then you had this whole pause in between where you were
Exactly.
preparing for your exams and the pressure of taking the GRE, the GMAT, getting the right score, that also gets to applicants overall. What was your experience there? Maybe that is something that you might want to share so that people know, as they are preparing, they start working with counseling teams or they start working
Yes.
with a consultant like me. And at that point, they take a pause or they need a pause or they reflect on certain other things after they start on what they need in order to
Exactly.
get to their dream school. What was your specific situation there?
So my journey was, as I said, was tiring. It's everybody's, but I'll let you know why. So I started quite early. I think when I'd finished 3 years of experience, I'd reached out to Lilac, and it was a good insight of what I need to be prepared, what I need to prepare for this journey. Because, as you said, there is first is the examination, GRE or a GMAT, to first decide what kind of examination is going to be good for you. And that prep itself takes time. It's going to take 5 to 6 months of your life. With me personally, I'm not from a quant background, so it took me way more than as compared to other people. But it is going to take some time, and it's better to start early. That if you want, you can't get these results in 2 months. You can't come up to even consultants and request them to do a fast paced application, just because if you want a certain result, you would need to have certain, obviously, certain experience, a very all rounded application, a decent score, and even need time to prepare for your interviews. Because uh, hence I actually reached out 1.5 year ago. And as Priyash very rightly mentioned, that I took a pause because as a lawyer, I thought that I might just need one more year of experience, because 4 years of experience, 4 to 5 years of experience would be great for me to actually shift and transition from a lawyer to a into a management spectrum. So I think I took the pause to prepare, to analyze, actually upscale as well. So that was my reason. So my advice would be start early, do your research, what kind of examination or test suits you the best. I did GRE. A lot of people do GMAT, but if you're not from a quant heavy background,
Hmm.
try GRE. Prepare with people, prepare with coachings, or like even personal coachings required for quant. I think that is what my advice would be. And even try the test multiple times, because so I have tried the test two
So let's
times
get into,
and
let's get into that exciting part where you tried to test a couple of times and you had this really
yeah,
harrowing
why not?
experience of trying to get a good score. And I remember you coming back and saying, Priyash, I'm not able to get the kind of score I really hope to get when I started
Yeah,
the counseling and the consultations at that point, right? Because everybody's hoping for a high 600s, early 700s in the classic edition.
exactly.
And you're not able to get there, and without, like,
Yeah,
needing to divulge your score specifically on the GRE as well, right? Because you eventually took the GRE. You want in that zone or the band that you need for a good top school, right?
exactly.
And then we had this discussion around what schools would fit me, based on what I'm still getting.
Yeah.
So tell like, the people who are listening to this later, that if
Yeah.
somebody doesn't get the right score, what does it mean for them in terms of picking schools? Did we change anything for you, or you felt like something massively changed, or we stuck to the plan and you broadly got into the same kind of, or you broadly applied to the same kind of program and got interviews from the same kind of programs?
Yeah. So I think, as I said, I was not from a quant heavy background. It took me time to even get the above average scores, because that's how the test is programmed. And I think initially I was kind of, as I came out, I reached out to you and I was like, you know what, I don't think GMAT is going to be my cup of tea. I don't think I can do it. And you said, you know what, why don't you just stick to GRE? Like, keep practicing it. Maybe that's going to suit you the best. And that's what happened. I stuck with GRE. I prepped for GRE, and not harping on what the score was, but it wasn't the highest of 320s and 320 plus, which everybody aims to and also believes that that is going to be the key to a very good business school. Yes, it's a part of it, but this is something which I discussed with Priyash. Priyash has informed me what kind of profile, what kind of interview skills, what kind of background also helps in actually getting interviews from good business schools and finally getting into a B school. So I think a very good part of my journey was that I could reach out to Lilac whenever I was struggling, even with, you know what, I'm not able to like do +5 in quant, or what to do next. My first test didn't go well. Should I just do it again? And I think having that person who sees this on their on like in their daily lives, that you get a good insight. And even I think it was quite positive for me, because um, when we finally got the score, we sat down and strategized what is going to be best for me and what's going to work with the score and the background I have. So I think end of the journey, I have fortunately received interview offers and offers with scholarship, because we understood what is going to work personally for me, and there is no formula for everyone in this process. At least
Yes, yes,
everybody will have a different journey.
and the journey differs because of the overall profile, which is where, people like us who come from a consulting background understand what you will bring to the program, specifically on the
Exactly.
diversity front, and what the program will benefit from showcasing, right? Either in terms of career outcomes, or in terms of, what else you can add to the cohort, as well as what the cohort will add to you. So those are things that we discussed, of course, during the essay section. But before that, I think maybe best to let the cat out of the bag Can you share which all applications you did, where you got your interviews, and where you got your admits with scholarships?
So, as our plan was, we applied to three target schools for me, which I really wanted: SDA Bocconi, ESCP Paris, and Warwick. I have gotten interviews from both ESCP in Paris, ESCP Paris and SDA Bocconi, and I'm still waiting for Warwick. And I have got an offer from ESCP Paris for their MBA in International Management program, and I've also received almost 25% scholarship for the program. So I have finally decided to go ahead with this program because it suits the best for me. And the the journey it was, and I think the most helpful thing was that uh, the Priyash has helped me out in reaching out to people, understanding what the course is going to look like, what the people who are actually in the programs or even have graduated from these programs. So I think when I was deciding on universities, these things helped a lot because for a person who doesn't know what the program is going to look like or the people who have graduated from this program, everybody sticks to these five or six business schools which everybody wants to go to. I
Mhm.
think that was the clarity which was provided by Priyash,
No, and
that
I
you know
think
what.
yes, and I think the picking was spot on, right? Like with Bocconi, you had a top 10 kind of program. With ESCP
Exactly,
and Warwick, you had more of a mid-ranked program, right?
exactly.
And we didn't go straight down to the pecking order just because the score was below a 315 or whatever, right? It was super difficult to kind of just go straight down the pecking order. It didn't make sense. You had a lot of other potential strengths in your profile, which we really appreciated. And I think the communication you did with every person, either alumnus, existing student, or AdCom member, that really ingrained it in you that why you were somebody whom they would actually consider for an interview or for an admit at a later stage, right? And that
So
confidence, once it get got developed, then I think we solidified at least saying this is where we will apply.
yes, the due diligence and the path which is provided to do the due diligence was quite concrete, right? Like I need to understand if the adcom is giving me good insight about my profile and if that profile is actually what they are looking for.
Yes.
And we don't want to do applications just because we want to do applications. We want to do applications thinking how it's going to fit into your career path, for example, what ESCP can provide me, what Bocconi can provide me after the course.
After graduation as well.
So yes, so that is what something which we kept in mind, and what I bring to the table, what different I bring from other candidates, and will that be an attractive aspect of the profile.
Yes.
So we discussed this in length, and I think if I was doing it all by myself, these things I wouldn't have been thinking.
Correct.
So this is like the key aspect of the choice of universities, and even doing the diligence and talking to the alumnus and getting these reviews. This is very helpful, and I think I had a very concrete pathway for that matter. That you know what, this is what Piyush has asked me to do. I'm going to do this. Let's see how it goes, and
Okay.
then we used to just strategize accordingly.
So talk a little bit about how we strategized on your essays as well as your interview prep. Two important areas which most applicants will need help with
Yes,
is what do I write in my essays, what are the content that makes sense, and
yes,
what do I present eventually in the interview, because the panic sets in that you've been invited for the interview, and then what do I have to say? What do I have to say? Right? Even though you've written your own essay, at that point you still kind of start having these second guessing yourself and doubts on how you'll present your case. So, what did you really take away from the conversation we had on the essay front as well as the interview prep?
I think at least this is my personal experience, that when we were writing the essays, I had complete control, and the fact that my story, which I wanted to like tell in the essay, was absolutely which was completely backed by Priyash, because I this was not like a fake, or it's a fabricated story. It was exactly who I was and authentically presented in my essays. we strategized in a manner that there are things which I wanted to tell but weren't the best things about me. And in this process, I think when we prepped for the essays, it was like most 80% of the work was already done. I think personally for me, in my experience, that 80% of the work was already done when we had already submitted our essays, because there were negotiation rounds for the essays, how we wanted to write and how authentic it should be. I wanted to tell my story of my work, of my personal life, my personal trajectory, my family background. All of these things were projected the way I wanted to. The assistance, the guidance, what kind of stories would actually work for me was was given to me on every single negotiation round which we did. And I think when the interviews came, which like fortunately for me was in 15 days after my application itself, that we had to like run and like absolutely do these interview rounds. But just because I was so well versed with the essays we had written, that it was easier for me to even prepare for these interviews. So that is what completely helps. That when you write these essays, these are not fabricated, these are not written by anyone else. It's absolutely what you bring to the table, what your life is gonna look like.
And what are your
And
skills, most importantly, that I feel would make the most sense, right? I think what we spend a lot of time
yes,
doing or discussing with you and every applicant is what skills does your current work let you really sharpen, and how those skills are really valuable later on for leadership roles, for profiles that you are aspiring for, how those skills are transferable. Somebody like you who has worked on big projects where dotting every I and crossing every T is important, doing your due diligence right is very, very critical. That eye for detail is an important element, maybe looking at a future goal that you're having, or a very important, working under pressure, what kind of things you're able to deliver and not deliver, right? Somebody who can pull in long hours, deliver under pressure, and still do a great job. And they want to see that kind of resilience in the applicants, in leaders. When you fail, also, can you stand back up? A lot of the essays that we did talked about these values and principles that applicants bring to the table. I mean, European schools, have some of the longest essay writing points
yes,
that you need. There's so many essays,
exactly.
and some of them six essays in a couple of schools that we did, which just makes it really long. But yeah, that's it. It's
Yeah.
ensuring that they've understood, what is your backup plan, what's your primary goal, so on and so forth. And
And to be very honest, with the essay process, we just can't have 1 month on hand and do it. As I said earlier, start early. It is going to be easier for you to understand yourself in that process of what you want to tell, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And it's going to take some time to put pen to paper and ensure everything what you've written is what you want to tell. And as just rightly said, that these schools had challenged us in had challenged personally me to understand what I want to write, as Bukoni had over over 10 questions,
and
and
question,
ESCP
yes.
had 4 essays and even a research essay, right? Like these things are something which you need time for. So if as we all know that everybody is working and they don't have the time in their hand to do this research and even spend time on these essays, I would say start early, start the discussions with Priyash early, that what this is the story for leadership. As he said, this is the story for I want to like write for like how what my strengths are, attention to detail, and this is my weakness, and I want to like put when the question of what your weaknesses are, how to even project what my actual weakness is. So I think start early, have fruitful discussions, be absolutely honest about these things, because it's going to work. End of the day, these essays are going to be telling a story, and especially business schools, European business schools, look and read through the essays, and even in the interviews, discuss your essays in length.
Correct.
So that is where, even if, for example, I didn't have the greatest off score, but the fact that I had given everything in my essays and ensured that whatever I need for this application, I would ensure that it's there in my essays. So I think start early, discuss, be honest, transparent. I think that will work the best.
Cool. All right. I think very important words for anybody who is listening to this. Start early. Get yourself, prepared sufficiently in time. And each essay takes a lot of time, and each school takes a
Lord.
lot of time as well. And the more number of schools people have, they think it's copy paste. It's not sometimes copy paste. It's got to connect with that ethos of the school. The number of pages we made each time, each of you review for school specific data points, mission, vision, values, faculty,
Absolutely.
coursework, clubs. God knows how many pages we must have reviewed.
Absolutely. Everything is in relation to a specific business school. And every essay is going to look like that. You just can't write one essay and that's going to work for all the business schools.
Yeah.
That is what something uh, this was this was quite helpful from Priyash's side, that he would go over and over and make sure that I have absolutely aligned my essays and what I am looking from the business school, and have put all that thought when I'm writing that essay.
Right.
So that's quite helpful. One more thing is that the fact that I could reach out to Lilac at any point of the day and schedule calls and obviously bother them about these things. So I think that is where that has been my experience. Uh,
That has been our pride as well. Generally, as a company, being available, being
exactly.
accessible, and picking up the phone is something we need to do. We That is how we differentiate ourselves from most other people who would say that we will help you, but then they're really not there sometimes in terms of time availability. That's something I
Sometimes
think
I think you guys were more
we do
pushy
the
than
follow up.
I
Yes,
was.
we do the chasing when the deadlines get
You're
near.
like,
When we are like, we got less than 3 days left and we haven't still read that final draft. When are you going to send it to us? That's when things really start hitting the fan. But at least it's good. The technology keeps us honest in terms of which deadlines are coming soon, which applicant is
exactly.
applying where, and how to ensure that it's not a miss from our end at least, right? Sometimes applicants may forget. Like today also, I have another applicant who's applying to LBS, and his deadline's tomorrow, but he hasn't yet sent in his final essays for me to read. So I'm definitely panicking. I called him in the morning. I told him, buddy, what are you doing? When am I going to see your essays? He's like, yeah, I'll send it today. And I'm like, you're giving me one day to clean up everything. That's a little short. So yeah, I mean, that's
I
part of
think
our
I
lives.
think I think with you guys, I didn't have to worry most of the time because I know that even if I miss a deadline, I will get a call, I will get an email saying where are the drafts, because more than I am worried about my applications, I'm pretty sure Priyash is going to be behind my back and is going to ensure that I submit all my essays and I do everything on time, like on the deadline. So yes, the entire portal is very easy to handle. Just the fact that after every sessions, every discussions, that I could go back to the portal and check, go over my drafts, have set deadlines. All of these things are very helpful. And
Seeing
even if I
discovering
am
programs and reviewing your recordings, two things that most people end up doing is, of course, uploading the
exactly,
documents piece as well, but reviewing various programs and then the shortlisting stage, and then
I think that
ensuring
was
they
so
can go back.
helpful.
Yeah, ensuring
Even
they
the
can go
fact
back.
that every single detail, other than the brochure, every single detail, what is the GRE, GMAT, which the university expects, what's the ranking looking like, and what the deadlines are. All of these things are very readily available for the candidate, and especially at the interview stage when I had to go back and look at our mock interviews where I was doing well, where I was not doing well. These were the things which helped me a lot in my interview preparations, because these the mock sessions we did, and I think the interviews were almost like what we had already discussed, because I got that training from your end. And after the interview, I think my review of the interview to you was always that, you know what, it was exactly like the mock interview, similar questions, similar answers, everything went very well.
Correct.
So I was very well prepared. and I'm very well guided of what I'm going to answer and how I'm going to answer. So that helped a lot.
Cool. All right. That's it. Thank you for taking the time to do this testimonial, Sakshi, from my end. Lovely having, got the chance to work with you as well. And we will definitely
Yes,
be staying in touch, following your journey, what you'll end up doing at ESCP, and maybe trying to connect you, with future applicants looking to apply to your program, seeing you
for
as a
sure.
campus ambassador,
For
possibly
sure.
telling us, how life in France has been for you.
Yes, for sure. Happy to help. Happy to help other people out for sure. And obviously, we're going to stay in touch, and I'll give you updates about what's
Give me the
happening.
updates. Yes, absolutely. That'll be lovely. Cool.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Chalo. Take care.
Bye bye. Take
Bye
care.
bye.